Hey everybody, you ever had a dream so big it kind of scared you? Like you're lying awake at night, picturing yourself doing something amazing. Maybe starting your own business, performing on a big stage, or building something that changes the world? Well, that was me 10 years ago. My name's Lynn, and I dreamed of becoming a tech entrepreneur in Silicon Valley. Not just any startup, but one that'd make a dent in the universe, like Steve Jobs used to say. I wanted to build an app that'd connect people across cultures, something that'd make the world feel a little smaller, a little kinder. Sounds cool, right? But let me tell you, the road to that dream was a roller coaster, and not the fun kind. I grew up in a small town in Vietnam, in a family that didn't have much. My parents ran a tiny grocery store, working 12-hour days to put food on the table. We didn't have fancy gadgets or Wi-Fi growing up, but I was obsessed with computers. I'd spend hours at the local library, teaching myself to code on an old PC that crashed every 20 minutes. I'd read about Silicon Valley, about kids my age building apps and raising millions. I thought, if they can do it, why not me? When I was 18, I got a scholarship to study computer science at a community college in California. Man, I was over the moon. I packed one suitcase, hugged my mom goodbye, and flew across the Pacific thinking, this is it, I'm gonna make it. But reality hit me like a truck. College was tough. I was competing with kids who'd been coding since they were 10, who grew up with every resource I never had. My English wasn't perfect, so I'd stay quiet in group projects, afraid I'd sound dumb. And then I had to work nights at a convenience store to cover what my scholarship didn't. My big break, or so I thought, came during my second year. I had an idea for a language learning platform that used AI to help immigrants like me learn English while sharing their own cultures. I poured everything into it. Late nights coding, skipping meals to save money for server costs. I even entered it into a startup pitch competition at school. I practiced my pitch in front of the mirror, imagining I was on Shark Tank. But when the day came, I bombed. My demo crashed mid-presentation, and the judges tore me apart. They said my idea was unfocused, and I lacked the experience to pull it off. I walked out, feeling like the smallest person in the world. I called my mom, and she just said, "Come home, Lynn. Maybe this isn't for you." That night, I cried myself to sleep, wondering if I'd dreamed too big. You know how they say rock bottom is a great place to start rebuilding? That's where I was. I could have packed up and gone home, but something in me wouldn't let go. I kept thinking about my parents, working their fingers to the bone so I could have this shot. I thought about all the immigrants like me, struggling to fit in, who needed something like my app. So I decided, I'm not done yet. But where do you start when you have got nothing? I had no money, no team, and my confidence was shot. So I went back to basics. I got a part-time job as a junior coder at a small startup in San Jose. The pay was barely enough to cover rent, but I learned so much. How to debug code, how to work with designers, how to think like a product manager. After work, I'd sit in coffee shops, rewriting my app from scratch. I'd watch YouTube tutorials, read tech blogs, anything to get better. One day I saw a flyer for a hackathon in San Francisco. First prize was $5,000 and a chance to pitch to real investors. I thought, this is my shot. But there was a catch. I needed a team, and I didn't know anyone. I was too shy to network, but I forced myself to post on the hackathon's forum, pitching my idea. To my surprise, two guys responded, a designer named Jake and a back-end developer named Maria. They weren't big shots, just students like me, but they believed in my vision. We had 1 month to prepare. We worked like crazy, meeting in my tiny apartment, surviving on instant noodles and energy drinks. I'd code until 3 a.m., then drag myself to work at 7. My app was starting to take shape. It let users practice English through video calls with native speakers, swapping stories about their cultures. But the pressure was insane. A week before the hackathon, our server crashed, and we lost half our data. Jake and Maria wanted to quit, and I was this close to giving up too. But I remembered something my dad used to say. When the road gets tough, you don't stop. You find a new path. So we pulled an all-nighter, rebuilt the server, and fixed the app. The day of the hackathon, I was a nervous wreck. We presented to a room full of tech bros and venture capitalists, people who looked like they'd never failed at anything. My hands were shaking, but I told our story, how I came from nothing, how this app was for people like me, trying to find their place in a new country. When we finished, the room was quiet for a second. Then they clapped. Not polite claps, but real loud ones. We didn't win first place, we came in third, but one of the judges, a woman from a big VC firm, pulled me aside. She said, "Your passion is infectious. Keep going." That was the spark I needed. That hackathon changed everything. The $1,000 we won went straight into the app. Jake and Maria stuck with me, and we kept building. We launched a beta version, and slowly users trickled in. Immigrants, students, even teachers. They loved how the app made learning English feel like a conversation, not a chore. But the real breakthrough came a year later. I applied to a startup accelerator in Silicon Valley, one of those programs that gives you funding and mentorship. I didn't think we'd get in, but we did. The accelerator was intense. 3 months of pitching, coding, and networking. I met investors who believed in us, and we raised our first $500,000. With that, we hired a small team, upgraded our servers, and launched the app officially. Today it's called ConnectSphere, and it's got over 1 million users in 50 countries. Last year,